I'm going to share. Good morning, everybody. It is 10:02, and now we're going to start our today's webinar. Let's make sure internet's working. It looks like working, so great. Okay, so welcome to filing your 2020 tax webinar. And my name is Hiroko Nakao, and I'm opening today's webinar. We also like to introduce our colleague, Kelly Dodell, Policy and Research Specialist at Momentum. And she will be moderating throughout the webinar today. And I'd like to let you know that this webinar is recorded and it will be available in a later day on our website. Before we get started, I'd like to offer land acknowledgement. In a spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta to this webinar today. Momentum is a nonprofit organization in Calgary, and we work with people living on low incomes and partners in our community to create a thriving economy for all. Interested in going back to school, opening your own business, financial wellness to support you and your family. We have 3 amazing departments that offer a variety of programs for you to access and reach your goals. So please check our website, www.momentum.org, for more information. Okay, so Momentum has exciting news to share with you today. Momentum has an easy-to-use mobile app in partnership with Cuber that helps you save money, reach your savings, and start a saving habit at the same time. And if you save $40 each month for about 10 months, you may end up earning up to $100 from Momentum, so please check that out. The other exciting news today is that offering on-demand money management courses online. So now you can take budgeting, credit, assets, banking, consumerism, and education savings courses online. It's very interactive. You can access those courses anywhere, from any places, at any time. So please check out. Little housekeeping. So today's presentation is about 20 minutes. And there will be a question and answer period. So please use Q&A function in the red circle to post your questions. I will try to sort it out as much as I can. And if your question is similar to previously posted question, please use thumb up button and then just to kind of show your interest so we don't repeat same questions in the Q&A box. Okay, so further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, Bonnie McIntyre. She's a Regional Outreach Officer from Canada Revenue Agency. Please welcome Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So outreach, I get to come out previously in person. Now we're playing with technology and doing it live. We do talk about benefits, credits, various tax deductions. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about with the taxes, how to file a tax return, some of the things that you just want to be aware of and that. So with the benefits and credits, okay, so if I can get you to go to the next screen, are actually with taxes, period. Taxes are the necessary evil of life, or one of them. Nobody likes paying taxes, but the benefits of paying taxes. Taxes are what, are used for roads, the education system, healthcare, your emergency services, all of our benefits. So the Canada Child Benefit, GST, things like that I'm going to mention today. All our various social programs, the Navy, Army, all of that are supported by taxes. And so as long as everybody's paying their fair share, we're able to enjoy all of the benefits that taxes create. Next. And so with that, we do have in Canada, we do have what's called the self-assessing tax system. So that's where we all do our own tax returns every year. We make it, fill out and submit the tax system. Taxes are due April 30th. They start usually towards the second last week of February. So this year was February 22 that you could start filing the tax return. And we want to make sure that we have them done by April 30th. Even if we owe, we want to make sure that we do it by April 30th. If you owe, you can file tomorrow and just not pay what you owe until April 30th, but you want to at least submit it by the 30th so that you're not getting a late filing penalty, because nobody likes the penalties. So next. Right. So one of the questions that I do get a lot of is, do I have to file taxes? So if you owe taxes, absolutely. If you've gotten a letter from us saying, hey, you haven't filed, please file, absolutely. But for the other ones, you want to file so that you get a refund of any taxes that you've overpaid. So depending on your deductions, we could pay you back some of the taxes that you have, your employer has submitted for you from your paycheck. To get any of the benefits, Canada Child Benefit, the GST, the Canada Workers Benefit, the Climate Action Incentive, so for all of those are the main reasons for filing. Why not get the money that you're entitled to receive by doing something, and when I say as easy as filing a tax return, because for most of us, we have a simple basic return. We have T4 slips, and some deductions to claim. Next. So I'm going to very quickly touch on the various benefits and credits. So the first one we want to move on is going to be the Canada Child Benefit. So if we go next. And one more screen. So next once more, Canada Child Benefit, tax-free. You don't claim this on your tax return. Per child, you could get up to $6,765 a year for the Canada Child Benefit. In order to keep getting it each year, you file the tax return, both you and your spouse or common law partner. Next. We also have the GST credit. So next, this one comes out quarterly. It can be up to $600 a year. So definitely, again, you just need to file the tax return in order to receive this particular benefit. Next, Canada Workers Benefit is another one where if you have employment income, so I'll get you to go to the next screen, modest income and employment income. So it has to have working income by filling out Schedule 6 with the tax return. A single person could get up to $1,300. A family could be up to $2,335, as well as if you have a valid disability tax credit certificate, an additional $700, all for filing your tax return. Next. We have the climate action incentive payment. This one does not matter what the income level is, but again, if we go next, you need to file the income tax return. It's Schedule 14, so a family of 4 could get almost $1,000. If you live outside of Calgary, Edmonton, and Lethbridge, the census metropolitan area for each of those 3 cities, there's also a 10% supplement. So all of those are excellent reasons to file your tax return. Next. I do see in the chat somebody saying, what about the taxes you pay every time you buy something? So that's not going to, those do not impact the income tax return in any way. Those are sales tax. Those aren't the income tax. So it's totally separate tax on that. So when we want to talk about filing your taxes, before you sit down to do that, you want to make sure that you've got all of the information you need. I'm going to talk a little bit about the ways to file a tax return, a little bit about completing it. So once you do all that, you send the tax return to CRA. There's various ways depending on how you're filing it. What to do after you send your tax return, so you either pay the debt, you get a refund, and how long it's going to take when you file those tax returns. Next. Some of the things that you need to know, like we've got, you hear when you read, talk to anybody, if you call into the general inquiries, you'll hear us say, deductions, credits, non-refundable credits, things like that. And then we have refundable. So the refundable is the cash money to you. So the refundable is going to be like your GST credit, the Canada Workers Benefit, your climate action incentive. Your non-refundables are going to be, everybody gets to claim a basic personal deduction. Medical expenses would be under the non-refundables, disability tax credit. So non-refundable means it reduces your tax payable or helps to reduce your tax payable. But if it takes your tax payable to 0, it won't take it below 0. That's what a non-refundable is. You're also going to have other deductions possibly that you can claim. So if we want to go to the next screen, and then one more. Some of the other deductions are going to be medical expenses. There's childcare expenses. This year, we also have working from home. So deductions reduce your taxable income or your tax payable. So there's, depending on where on the tax return they're showing as to what they're going to reduce. But they're all going to help to reduce your tax payable or your taxable income. Now, if you don't have tax payable or taxable income, your deductions are not going to, they're not going to take it below. We cannot give you back something that you haven't paid in. So an income tax refund is going to come into play when you have sent in, or if say you're working, your employer is going to withhold income tax from your paycheck, send it to us, we're paying that back to you. That's what a tax refund is. We're giving you back what you've already paid in. But even if you don't have taxable income or you haven't had any income tax deducted, you're still going to file the tax return so you can get your benefits and credits, so that you can get the GST, so that you can get the climate action incentive. So if we go next. Okay, so I've listed just a few of these here. Childcare expenses are very common. The working from home, this year it's on here only because of the sheer volume of us as Canadians that have been working from home this year. Previously, if you worked from home, there was a special form that your employer had to sign to say, yes, you had, we're working from home. And then you can claim various deductions against that. This year, because of the sheer amount of people that worked from home because of the pandemic, because of COVID, the government simplified this for this year for sure. So you can, if you had to work from home because of COVID, and you had to work from home for, okay, at least 4 weeks, at least 50% of your schedule, then you can claim up to $2 a day. Maximum deduction this year is $400, but up to $2 a day for work from home expenses. There's no receipts that you would have to keep track of, unlike, prior years. There's, your employer doesn't have to sign the form. But so for those of us, as you can see, that are working from home and had to in 2020 for at least 4 weeks, at least 50% of your scheduled work week for at least 4 weeks, then you're qualified. You could make this deduction. And as I say, you would have to calculate how many days you work from home. Full days, part-time days, both count. Sick days do not count. Vacation days do not count. But you could claim a deduction of $2 a day. Everybody gets to claim that basic personal exemption. If you have an eligible dependent, so if you have, say, a single parent with children, you may be able to claim the eligible dependent amount. We have the disability tax credit that you can possibly claim. Medical expenses you can possibly claim. If you were a student, university, possibly tuition, education, and textbook amounts. What are some of the other common ones? Home accessibility tax credit, maybe. So there's a lot of deductions that you may be able to claim when you file the tax return. Next, we have, this is what a T4 looks like. So if you had employment income, your employer is going to give you a T4 slip. Most of us, because we're now the first week of March, the employer is most likely already gave it to you. If it was a previous employer, they most likely mailed it to you. So if you don't have it, you're going to have it, I would imagine, depending on Canada Post, this week. Because they do need to be sent out, mailed out, no later than the end of February, so February 28th. So T4 slip, front of it, you'll see the box numbers. You can see I'm still a custom habit of, if I'm standing in front of the monitor, the screen up front of the room, I'm pointing at the screen. So I still point at my screen, even though you can't see what I'm pointing at. So you'll see the various box numbers there. And there's going to be amounts. If you flip that statement, the T4 slip over, it's going to tell you the box number and where it goes on the income tax return. Next slip or next screen. If you had, we're on AISH or workers' comp or social assistance, then you'll get a T5007. And again, you'll have the box numbers and an amount with the box. And on the back, it's going to tell you where you put it on the income tax return. Next, if you were a student, you would have received a T2202A slip, which is going to tell you, how much you paid in tuition. Is going to tell you, how many months, full-time, part-time, that you qualify for, where you're going to claim that on the tax return. Next. We also have, if you received any of the COVID benefits, so the Canada Emergency Response Benefit or the CERB, if you received any of the Canada Recovery Benefit, the Caregiving Benefit, or Sickness Benefit in 2020, you're going to get slips for those as well. And those are going to go on line 13000, or what used to be line 130. T4A slip if you received it from CRA, and a T4E slip if you received it from EI. Next. So again, with these slips, you're going to see amounts in the various box numbers. If you flip it over, it's going to tell you where you put those amounts on the tax return. Next. So the T4E slip, if you received anything from EI, again, as you can see, the box numbers, and on the back, when you flip it over, it tells you where to claim it on the tax return. Next. Now, they will calculate when they're doing the tax return. The system will calculate, you know, if there's any of the recovery benefit that needs to be recovered, as per se, if you were overpaid, if you received payments that you should not have received, possibly that you mistakenly applied for, things like that. That could, you know, cause a debt when you file your tax return, as well as there was no income tax withheld on any of the Canada Emergency Response or student benefit, and only 10% on the newer benefits, the recovery benefit, sickness benefit, and caregiving benefit. So that definitely can impact a lot of us when we file our taxes this year. You know, because the basic or the lowest income tax rate federally is 15%. The lowest income tax rate provincially is 10%. So that's 25% taxes. And from some of these payments from the March to September, there was no income tax withheld. And then the other ones, there was only 10%. So for those of us where you may be, you know, accustomed to receiving a fairly large refund every year, definitely it could impact you, and you may only get a tiny refund, or you may owe. Now, before I go any further, the one thing that you do want to realize is if you owe income tax, you're not the only one in that position. That's going to affect a lot of people this year. And the government has already announced if there is a tax debt, and if you owe income tax, and if you received any of these benefits, there is going to be no interest on that tax debt until April of 2022. So usually if you owe as of March 1, there's going to be interest that accrues. There is not going to be any interest. So even if you're owed, get that tax return filed so that there is no late penalty for filing after April 30th. But the government is also going to work with you. They have made, based on what they've said, it very flexible for you to, you know, see about putting a payment arrangement in place, things like that. So you do want to, you know, if you owe, take a breath. None of us like owing the government, but it's not bad because there is going to be no interest. You've got time to see about hopefully getting that debt paid down. They are not going to take the Canada Child Benefit and apply it to the debt. They are not going to take, from what they've said, the GST and apply it to the debt either. So relax on that, take a breath. We will all get through this. Next. So how do you file your taxes? A couple of ways, actually quite a few ways. So I'm going to start with the paper. Pen and paper. You are going to, you know, you can either print it from our website, you can call into the general inquiries or the forms line, request a copy be mailed to you, sit down, fill it out, mail it into us. The one thing you do want to remember with pen and paper is it does take longer to process because we've got the mailing time for it to receive it, you know, and then the processing in the tax center, things like that. Definitely you can do it by paper. We have software. Now, to file electronically, we have two different words. We have Netfile and we have eFile. Some people use them interchangeably. What they actually mean is for Netfile. Netfile is when an individual electronically files their own return. E-file is when a tax preparer of some kind electronically files. It can be used interchangeably, but technically if you are filing yours electronically, that is Netfile. If you go to somebody to have them submitted electronically, that is going to be the e-file. We have by phone. You may have received a letter inviting you to do the File My Return. CRA has mailed out some. Those are usually those people who they have, low to modest income, their tax situation has not changed. It remains the same. And those are the ones that may receive this invitation to do the File My Return by phone. We also have the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program. CVITP is going to be organizations. They provide volunteers. CRA gives those volunteers and organizations the software and the training on how to use it so that they can file tax returns for free for people with a basic tax return, basic tax return and a modest income. So if we go next. So we have here for the Netfile on CRA's website. If you go on the CRA website and under Netfile, we have there an entire list of software that you can choose from. So the Understand Netfile, it talks about how to do it, the certified software. So if you go to the next screen, there's an entire list. So you can pick and choose. Some of it you're going to pay for. Some of it is free. They're all certified for use by Canada Revenue Agency. So you can pick and choose which one you want. And like I say, with the certified software, with the Netfile, there is, when you start that, an interview process. So it's going to ask you questions depending on which software you're using as to how it phrases the questions. But basically, like, do you have employment income? What type of income do you have? Employment, pension, this, that, or the other. And you go through and you pick and choose. Do you have children? Do you have medical expenses? Do you, are you a voluntary firefighter? And it asks you all of these questions. So however you answer that is, once you're past that interview, is how the software knows to say, okay, you said you had employment income. Do you have your T4 slip? And then it has you put the information from your T4 slip or T4A or whatever the slip is into the system. Now, I Netfile mine, and what I do, well, mine and my mother's and my sister's, but what I do when I'm doing it is I have my slips with me. And when I'm putting them in, I make sure I go through. Once I'm done that slip, I set it aside. So by the time I'm done and it's walked me through, I should have no more slips left in front of me, whether it be my medical expense receipts, my T4 slips, all of that. If you still have a slip left over, you missed a question in the interview. You can definitely go into the help files of whatever software program you're using to find out how to input that slip or how to find the question that you missed. So with Netfile, like I say, you go through, you put everything in, it walks you through. It's going to check. It may give you a warning, you said this, but you didn't put anything here, or whatever the case may be. And then you would submit it to us electronically. When you submit it to us electronically, what's going to happen is, if you have banking information on file, we will, once it's assessed, send you your income tax refund by direct deposit. If you don't have banking on file, banking information, your refund will be sent out to you, paper check through Canada Post. Electronically, when you file, it's usually processed within, week and a half. Paper returns are going to take on average 3 to 4 weeks. If you have banking information on file, once it's assessed, you will get your income tax refund, electronically is usually going to be very quickly. So let's say if you filed today, March 2nd, and we say you file, we say, okay, it'll be assessed March 10th. If you have direct deposit on file, you will get that direct deposit on March the 10th. If you don't have it on file, we will mail the check on March the 10th. So electronically, you will get your income tax refund definitely much quicker. Next. So here is where if you clicked on this certified tax software link, trust me, I know how to speak, just not very well today, where you get to pick and choose free or pay what you want software or paid software with free offerings. So you're going to pick, choose, list, whatever you want. Next. So electronically again, and one more screen. So here's what I was talking about for the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program. So your family income level is going to be modest, you know, basic tax returns. So they do not do bankruptcy. They do not do capital gains. They do not do rental income. But if you have just regular T4 slips, nothing fancy, work, scholarships for school, pension income, definitely CVITP could be the way to go. Next. With the pandemic, a lot of our clinics have, you know, because this all started last March, they scrambled to be able to continue with CVITP. So they have, some of them have gone virtual. Some of them do it over the phone. Some of them, they have the plexiglass barriers in place. Some of them do it as a drop-off clinic. But we have all kinds of clinics throughout, actually across Canada. But in Calgary, we've got lots of organizations that do the CVITP. You know, so definitely if you go to our website, you know, and like, so canada.ca taxes help, you can look to see for whatever city, town that you live in, where there is a clinic. When you pick and choose that clinic, it will tell you, you know, how to contact them, you know, any special, you know, do they do it for immigrants? Do they do it for, you know, seniors, women? Do they do it for everybody? Do they do it for, you know, whomever? Also, what languages they offer help in. So all of that information is available. And so the CVITP is a fantastic way to get your taxes done. Next. A couple of the other things that I want to touch on before I get into a lot of the questions. This is an important one. We will not, so Canada Revenue Agency will not discuss personal information about your income tax file with anybody but you unless you've authorized them. So there is an authorization form that you can fill out and send in if you want somebody to be able to call in and talk to CRA about your income tax file. Because it does not matter if you are calling in for your 19-year-old university student child. So you've got a kid who's 19, they're in university, they don't know diddly about taxes. We will not discuss their account with you. We don't care that it's your child because they haven't authorized you. Does not matter if you've been married to somebody for 52 years and they are the one that always looks after the income tax. We will not discuss your account with them unless they've been authorized. So if you want somebody to be able to call and speak to us and have us answer questions about your income tax file, we need to have them authorized. If you're sitting beside them, you know, and we do confidentiality with you over the phone, you can give us permission, hand the phone to them, and we will answer the questions for that phone call. You know, if English is your second language and you're not that good or that comfortable with it, then you might want to authorize somebody to be able to call in. You know, like I say, we will not discuss your account with anybody but you unless they have been authorized. Next. Another huge thing. Nobody likes opening the mailbox and seeing that brown envelope. Been with CRA for 15 years, and that still makes me go, oh my God, what did I forget? What do they want? But whatever, you have to open that envelope, you have to deal with it. Because if you don't, we could stop your benefit payments. We could disallow a deduction. 99% of the time, with that letter, when you open that envelope, could be a notice of assessment, but it could be a review letter. It could be you've claimed medical expenses and we're saying, hey, okay, you've claimed this, send us the receipt so that we can confirm that the amount you've claimed is correct. It could be a basic review. You know, you're getting Canada Child Benefit. We just want to confirm, you know, how many kids you have, what are their names, ages, etc. Whatever the question is, respond to it. If you need more time or you don't understand what we want, there's going to be a letter in that, there's going to be a phone number in that letter. Phone that, you know, phone them and say, hey, what do you want? Or, hey, I need more time. We will definitely work with you on that. Whatever you do, don't ignore the letter. Next, you know, again, file your taxes every year. Both you and, if you have one, your spouse or common law partner. With your taxes being filed, that's how we calculate your benefits and credits. As well, if you qualify for like a child care subsidy or a rental subsidy, most of the time they need to see a copy of your notice of assessment as well. So do the tax return every year. Even if you have zero income, if you have no taxable income or no income, file the tax return for benefit purposes. You also want to make sure you keep information up to date with us. Next. So if your marital status changes, we need to know, because benefits, most of them are based on family income level. So if you've gotten divorced and we've been calculating it on your income and your ex's income, if you're divorced, we need to recalculate on just your income level. Same as if we were, you know, got married. We based everything on your income level. We also need to now base it on the family income level. When you move, we need to know, because if we send you a letter and you don't get it, we could stop your benefit payments. As well as security purposes. We know the bad guys dumpster dive looking for personal information so they can steal identity. If we send it to your old address and it gets thrown in the garbage, you know, the bad guys may get that personal information. So you don't want to do that. Keep your address up to date. Banking information, so if you change banks or you no longer have access to that bank account, if somebody has passed away, you know, if the number of children in your care changes, if you start or stop a shared custody arrangement, residency status, any of that. If we send you a notice and there's incorrect information, let us know so we can get it corrected. So definitely, when something changes, let us know as soon as possible. Next. You know, like those are scary numbers. Very, very scary numbers. So with, you know, 106 million we lost to the scammers last year. 10 million in January alone this year. 7 million to COVID-related scams. So we want to be aware of this. We do, you know, let everybody know, and especially because we're going into filing season, it's going to get hot and heavy. You know, a couple of things to remember. Canada Revenue Agency will never text message you. So if you get a text message, of which, you know, even me, where is it? Yes. So, you know, my return, where's my camera there? Oh, look, click here to get my refund. No, CRA will never text message you, period. That's a scam. CRA will never send a link in an email for you to click on to get your income tax refund. And I can show you I have seen the newest one. This one is fairly new. A friend sent a copy to me where, so in this email, this is brand new. Basically, click here, fill out the form, give them all your personal information. CRA will never email you a link for you to fill out your personal information online. 1 and 2, in order to get a refund, all you do is file your income tax return. You do not have to do anything else. So when you get that email saying your refund is ready, click here and fill out this form. Your refund is ready. That is never going to occur. That is a scam. Don't give them your personal information. CRA will never e-transfer you a refund. So when you get that e-transfer saying CRA is e-transferring you your refund, click here, fill out the form. I know one young girl that actually put in all of her information, and the bad guys made a fake debit card and emptied her bank account. When I say young girl, she was a university student. So for me, young. But so don't fall for it. Be aware. If you get that, we're all familiar with the fact of the phone call. At the moment, the last one I got was Service Canada is going to come and arrest me unless I pay this fine because I used my SIN number fraudulently. The government's never going to phone and threaten you with arrest unless you pay a fine. Not going to happen. Don't fall for it. If you are not sure that is a valid email or a valid phone call, hang up the phone, look up the phone number for general inquiries, phone in. They will tell you, is somebody trying to contact you? They will tell you. Well, I know with the email, it's not going to be a valid one. You do not have to click on a link, fill out a form online to get your income tax refund. Absolutely not. Next. So here is a lot of the phone numbers, where to find information on the website. I do see I've got another question in the chat that says, if you repaid some of the CERB, the T4A that was sent out in January does not reflect the repayment amount. So it may or may not reflect it. CRA staff stated they will be resending out the corrected T4E in late April, according to a call my daughter made last week to CRA. Her T4E did not reflect the repayment amount. That is a possibility where some do not reflect the amount that was repaid. They will be getting all of those corrected. Now, some of the other questions that I also had were, so for those people who received the CERB or the CERB outside of eligibility, so if they weren't entitled to it, they will need to repay that. And that will be calculated with the income tax return. Do we have payment plan arrangements? You can definitely set out, arrange to do a payment plan. You can either call in to do it. There is a phone number. So for debts, and I'm going to put this in the chat. So for debts, you can call that phone number Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. Eastern time, which would be 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. Calgary time. Or if you go to that link that I put in there as well, it's got questions and answers. It will walk you through, what you can do to set up a payment arrangement, how you can do that. For as I've mentioned, with Canada Child Benefit, owing back any of the CERB payments or the recovery benefit payments will not affect your Canada Child Benefit or your GST. So if your CRA account is locked, you want to call the 1-800-959-8281, which is the general inquiries line. They'll be able to, see what they can do to help you get that unlocked. They may have to refer you to e-services, but that's where your best bet would be to start with. For individuals who've already paid the CURB Act and are still receiving the notice of debt, as the one other comment is, they will be sending out any corrected T4A and T4E slips. Otherwise, you can definitely call in to general inquiries, and they will have a look to see, you know, are the payments reflected? Because sometimes when you send a payment to us, we may put it in the, instead of applying it to the correct debt, we may have it in what's called like the installments, basically, which is going to be applied to the income tax return when it comes in. So just call and check on it. If it was to CRA, that is the 1-800-959-8281. If it was to Service Canada for EI, they are 1-800-206-7218. One of the other questions I had also had previously was, how come employment development, so EI, is collecting back the CER payment, is not providing individuals with a receipt or acknowledgement that they paid it back? That would be a question for Service Canada. I can only answer to Canada Revenue Agency, not Service Canada. You know, does the system recognize the individuals who have paid back the CERB? Individuals who have been paying back are still receiving a T4E. If the box is 0%, do they have to complete anything when they're filing their taxes? So if you have paid it back and they've got it updated in the system, then with your T4A, T4E slip, you won't receive one. So let's say you received $500 and you repaid that. If it's reflected on the slip, you would have got a 0 income slip, you know, or you probably would not have received a slip because it's going to be taken off. If you owed 1,000, you paid back 500, you should be receiving a slip that shows that it's 500. So the 500 would be income on the tax return. You don't have to claim 1,000. I take a deduction for 500. It should have been reflected on the slip. If it was not, they will be sending out corrected T4 slips, T4Es, T4As. If, like I say, if the payment that you have sent in is not being reflected, then definitely call, make sure that they've received it so that you can file your tax return correctly. So what is the minimum payment for individuals who still owe for the CERB? And that's going to depend on their individual situation. Because I'm not a collections agent, I don't know what minimum payments are going to be. I do know that the government has made very flexible payment arrangements that you can set up. On that link that I've put in up here, if you go there, it will walk you through, you know, how to set up a payment arrangement and some of the other things when it comes to that. So definitely you want to look at that. If the individual has received CERB from EI but has to pay it back, who is the actual institution the individual should contact to be able to set a repayment plan? So that link that I put in there, in the tabs across the top, there is another link where it talks about who does the CRA collect payments for. And so when I looked in there, CRA collects for EI, CPP, OAS, and student loans as well. So if it's, you know, while you're still receiving EI, then it's going to be to EI. If it's after you're done, then it's going to be CRA would administer those repayments.
Bonnie, we just got about 8 minutes left in our call, and we do have a bunch of questions in the chat. I'm wondering if it would be okay. I've kind of gone through and
absolutely, because I just finished all the pre-questions that you sent.
Fantastic. So, that's great.
Exactly.
So thanks everyone for all of your comments and your attention, and thank you, Bonnie, for all of this great information. I hope I've tried to answer a few with some links for the questions that were easy for me to find the answers to, but in the meantime, we did have a few others. And we know that this year in 2020, a lot of people turned, if they lost their regular employment, they may have turned to gig work, such as, delivery driver for Skip the Dishes or similar, food delivery platforms, Uber, driving, etc. And there was a question here around how to claim or file taxes with income from that type of gig work.
So for the self-employment, what you're going to be allowed to claim for expenses, your best bet is either call the business inquiries, so the 1-800-959-5525 that I've just put in the chat, on our website under self-employment as well, because there's a publication for those people who are self-employed as to what you can claim for expenses on that. So like, yeah, the skip the dishes, all of that type of thing. And you want to look at that because, if you're skip the dishes or any of those food delivery services, that was using your vehicle. What you can claim as expenses for using that, you want to look that up to help reduce, because there was no income tax taken off of skip the dishes or anything like that. I know that because, yeah, my brother turned to skip the dishes. I got to see him on a semi-regular basis during COVID, only because of that. So definitely look that up to see what you can claim as an expense, and then it's going to go on your tax return for line 135 or 13500, I guess it is now.
Excellent. We did have a question around some further details regarding the file by phone. And is this still available for people who have been on benefits like AISH or CPP?
So the file by phone, you would have received an invitation letter from Canada Revenue Agency. How they decided who was receiving those letters, that I don't know. If you did not get a letter, then you won't be able to do it that way. For that one, it has to be by letter.
Great. We do have a question from one of our colleagues in the nonprofit sector. So she works with survivors of sex trafficking, and working with them, many really struggle to verify their identity with CRA. And so it takes a lot of time working with those clients to verify their identity, to set up their My CRA account. And there are others that, it becomes very, very difficult. So she was just wondering, is there a more direct way to contact CRA and support more clients and verify their identity? Or is that done through other departments in the government?
Yeah, with contacting CRA, so if you cannot do confidentiality over the phone, you can definitely do a written letter, either mail it or fax it to the tax center. So if you're looking for getting the address updated, getting any slips that are on file, things like that. So the person's name, SIN number, current address, what it is you need. You may, depending on what the situation is, have to send a photocopy of their photo identification, things like that, depending on what the situation is. But if you cannot do confidentiality on the phone, then it's going to be written, either fax or through Canada Post mail to the tax center.
Excellent. And I know there are lots of other organizations out there that help folks get ID through ID clinics and that sort of thing. And so hopefully those resources are accessible.
So for that worker, if you want to send her my contact information, she can shoot me an email or give me a call, and we can, I can give her some further information and discuss that with her as well.
Great, thank you. So question, is there any tax benefit? Thanks for sharing the information about working from home and how the government's made it a lot easier for those of us who have had that freedom and privilege to be able to work from home. But is there any tax benefit for those who are studying from home online?
No, not for the setting. They still have possibly the tuition tax credit if they've received the T2202, things like that, but nothing else special for, you know, doing schooling from home.
Okay. Another question, you shared a lot of information about the availability of repayment plans, and we had a question around if there's a point in the process of filing taxes where someone can figure out what the repayment options are if they owe CRA, or is that something that happens after they file their taxes and have a conversation with someone at CRA?
So once you know if you're going to owe, so you don't even have to file the taxes. If you've got the software or you prefer the paper return, whichever way that you do your taxes, then once you know if you're going to owe, that you can't put it, I guess, give me a second, reverse. You cannot put a payment arrangement in place until there's a debt. If you look to see, are you going to owe, you know, run the numbers in your tax software, on the paper, whatever, that'll give you an idea. There is a calculator. So in that link that I put into the chat under the, which tab? Unable to pay tab. Is that the one I want? No, debt payment tab. So from that link under the debt payment tab, there is a payment arrangement calculator that you can go through all the information, and it will walk you through based on what you tell it for your income, for your bill payments, like the other debts you have, what you may be able to afford based on what you've told it. So you can play with that to see. Once you've officially filed your taxes, you can put an official payment arrangement in place, either by calling the debt collections, like, you know, collections part of Canada Revenue Agency. If you have My Account, you can put a payment arrangement in through there as well. But definitely play with the payment arrangement calculator. Too many P words in a row there. So yeah, because I was playing with a payment arrangement calculator myself the other day, just to see how it works, you know, what it wants. And yeah, it asks you for what is your income, what are all of your various bills, what do you spend on this, that, and the other. And then it will tell you, you know, how much money you have per month to, based on your other bills, to be able to apply to a debt, things like that.
Excellent. We do have many more questions. I'm afraid we're out of time to get to them. And I believe we've got just a last little bit of information to share. I think there's one more slide. So just another reminder that Momentum does have their savings challenge running through in partnership with Cuber, and there's information there. So, you know, for folks who may be expecting or getting a tax refund, it's a great time to allocate some of it, or maybe all of it, depending on how much it is, to an emergency savings account. I think the last year has really emphasized for all of us how important it is to try and build up a bit of an emergency savings, just to have that cushion in case of emergency. And with the online savings challenge at Momentum and through in partnership with Cuber, if you save $40, you get $5 just for signing up. And there are other benefits and opportunities when you participate in the savings challenge. Is there anything after that? There we go. Just a big thank you. So please do stay up to date with what's going on at Momentum. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter through momentum.org and see some of the other programs that we offer. And I hope that everyone has a really great day after this. Thank you again, Bonnie, for all of this information. And good luck, everyone, with filing your taxes. Hopefully it's a simple process. I know a lot of the questions, everyone's situation is very unique, whether they're students, whether they're residents, you know, if they're international students, there's lots of complexity depending on people's individual situations. So we couldn't cover all of it, but hopefully the phone numbers and other information that's available will allow everyone to get in touch with people who can give them a hand and answer their questions.
Yeah. General inquiries is open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 to 5 until the end of April. Definitely reach out to them. The phone number is in the chat, as well as it's all over our website.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again. I think we'll close it out from there. We hope everyone has a great day. Thanks so much.